today, what I want to share with you is a framework for how I work with my clients, whether they want professional or business related consulting and coaching, or if they want personal coaching. There are key aspects that help, in my opinion, bring you back to your authentic self. And the first is to start with the pause, taking the moment to carve out time to intentionally begin to reflect, to intentionally begin to invite change into your life, to become aware that you want change in your life. There are so many different ways you can do all of this. And when I run my programs, it's really important to me that people understand that I am going to throw out a lot of suggestions. And some of these suggestions are going to be very helpful for you, and some of them are not. We are all different. We are all motivated by different things. We are all unique. We all have different values. We all have different life experiences. We all have different wants and needs. So my goal is to expose you to lots of brilliant things that might pique your interest. Maybe some of these things you're going to want to dive further into and explore for yourself. And maybe some of them won't land as much. But my goal is to expose you to different ideas, different mindsets, different ways of showing up, to make you question yourself, to make you wonder about their own conditioning and lies and patterns that might be turning up in your life that are unhelpful. And so the first step is the pause, beginning to reflect. And part of my personal process when I work with clients is to help them understand what makes them them. And again, for me, I've always had an inherent interest in what makes me tick. So it was a natural thing initially years ago for me to help people look at their values and look at their unique definition of success, and to introduce the concept of the ikigai. And then we go a step deeper where we look at your soul's unique blueprint. These are learnings that have in more recent years become more important to me. Previously, I was into the Enneagram, into the Myers-Briggs or the Clifton Strengths. Those ones particularly resonated for me. But I've really found that the astrological natal chart, the Human Design's body graph, and the Gene Keys hologenetic profile really open up a whole new way of understanding yourself that I think is quite profound. So I'm going to quickly run you through these different steps. And what you'll find is that in this podcast, I'm addressing one of these 9 different aspects. We're either looking at a pause, we're either looking at connection, at breath, at movement, at moving through constriction, at nourishing yourself and self-care, at playing, at creating, how your thoughts create your reality. We are visioning, we're looking at our future self. We might be dropping into the quantum and manifestation. We look at appreciation and receivership. And we are also looking at holding yourself accountable, taking inspired action, and investing in the quantum. So again, with my clients, once they have a really clear understanding of what makes them them, we then look at the conditioning that also is layered on top of what makes them them. That conditioning might also look like your core wound. It might look like some trauma that you've had in your lifetime, whether that's big T trauma or little t trauma. But whatever it is, there are patterns, there are experiences, there are learnings, there's conditioning that needs to be reflected on and potentially let go of in order to help you move to that next level of self. And speaking of level of self, my next step is connecting to self. Now, almost all of us are very connected with our physicality, and most of us are quite aware of our ego or our intellectual self, that which makes up our personality, that which we present to the world. And some people are quite disassociated from their physical self, possibly because there's been trauma. For whatever reason, some people disassociate from their physical body. There's also our energetic self. So our energy, how we feed our energy, right? We can feed our energy through our breath. We can feed our energy through getting good sleep, getting good nutrition. Some people use the word prana to talk about energy, and prana or chi or ki, depending on which culture you're coming from, it's just the energy in our system. And when we are feeling depleted and our energy's low, and we stay in that space habitually, then it can result in dis-ease within the body. And then we have our emotional self. So inside all of us are the experiences of every moment that's come before. And when there are unhealed experiences, wounds from our childhood, they get stored in us as well. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done to heal that inner child, but connecting to the emotional self is a really important aspect. And then we have connection in any of these layers when there is unresolved or out of alignment or out of balance, we can create stress, and chronic stress then creates dis-ease. So getting to know and connect and learn about yourself on all of these different layers and see how they are all integrated with one another. They aren't separate. They don't stand alone. When someone has a neck pain, it might be that there's a physiological reason for that neck pain, but it might be that there is an emotional reason for the pain. There might be a energetic reason for that pain, right? So we have to look at ourselves on these different layers of being. And in yoga therapy, we talk about the koshas. In the Hoffman process, we talked about the quadrinity, right? So they had a 4-part model. In yoga therapy, they add the 5th, the energetic. But essentially, we have the physical self, the energetic self, the intellectual self, the emotional self, and then the higher self. And then you also have potentially that bliss self, so the connection to the divine. So most people have that really strong connection to their intellectual self. They're getting lots of messages constantly. It's the intellectual self that likes to run the show. It is the intellectual self that often stomps down and suppresses the emotional self. The two of those are quite often at odds with one another. The emotions are sitting there behind our experiences. So when we have a quick reaction to something, it's usually our emotional self that's flaring up. It's having a reaction, most likely to a past event that it's associating the experience with. I remember listening to a podcast a long time ago, and it was a man talking about how he was going for a hike, and he'd been on the trail for a while, and he felt something brush on his leg, thought he'd hit a stick, and he woke up in hospital. He had been bitten by a venomous snake, was close to death, survived, and a year or two later, he was out on a hike, and he again felt something on his leg, and he said he felt the most intense pain he'd ever experienced in his life. Now, that was the intellect. It was the intellect quickly relating pain and then going into a belief that the pain in my leg, I'm on a hike, this is associated with snake bite. Now, in this instance, he looked down and he saw that he had just hit a bit of a stump and had a small cut on his leg, right? So the pain he felt was real, but the pain he felt was not associated with the severity of the injury that happened. It was the trauma response from the previous incident that his body was responding to. I always thought that was a really interesting story. Anyway, so we have our intellectual self, we have our emotional self, we have our higher self. Now, our higher self is that wise and intuitive self that is within. It is our spark of the divine inside of us. It is connecting to the wisdom that is within. And I like to teach people a meditation process that allows you to go into those 5 aspects of self and really connect in. And when you connect in with each of those layers individually, you are thanking that part of the body, and you are asking for messages, and you're reflecting when you come out of meditation about the messages that you've received. I find it a really powerful meditation. It is something that I learned at Hoffman Process that I have tweaked with my own experience and by adding in the energetic layer. And then I also end it with a connection specifically into the heart. And if you are interested in that meditation, I will include the link in the notes. And again, where it all started with me was the breath. And it's an interesting question here of, can you connect into the layers of yourself without first connecting to your breath? And I've really gone back and forth about which one needs to be taught first. And I'll be honest, I haven't fully come to a conclusion on that. Yoga would say that you would teach the breath first. Breath comes before working towards meditation. Yeah, I think that's the answer. Breath needs to come first. So we have the breath, and the breath is your superpower. I tell this to my children. I've actually started writing a book on the breath as your superpower, like a kid's book, which has been parked for many years, but it is so powerful what the breath can do. So our bodies live in an attempt at homeostasis, and our autonomic nervous system, our ANS, keeps us working, right? So the autonomic nervous system is the part of our body that is sending signals, receiving signals, and telling the body what to do. It helps our pupils dilate or constrict depending on what's happening for us. It sends saliva where you think of something and it sends saliva. That's your autonomic nervous system. You're not intentionally doing that. The gastric acid in your stomach, it's doing that. It's keeping the alkaline and it's keeping the hormones in check. It's doing all of these things. And when we are in a constant state of stress, in chronic stress, our body is releasing adrenaline and norepinephrine, and it is putting us in overdrive, which means that our body stays off kilter. So to be in stress is fine. A little bit of stress is good. It helps us prepare for things. It helps us motivate. And you think about an Olympic athlete, there's stress and excitement and adrenaline that gets them going when they go for their run. If a bear jumps out in the woods, it tells us to run, right? Or when a saber-toothed tiger came at us, we ran, right? And so stress is an important biological, physiological response that our body undertakes. But when we sit in congested traffic, when we have our phone binging and bonging all day long at us, when we are multitasking 5 different things at the same time, we are staying in a heightened state of vigilance. And what that means for us is our body is releasing more hormones to do work, and that is overexerting the body. We can use our breath. We can slow our breath down. So not only can we anchor ourselves through our breath and ground into our body using the breath as an anchor, but we can intentionally invite an exhalation that is longer than the inhalation. And that simple trick, that simple hack, takes us from our sympathetic nervous system, our fight or flight system response, into the parasympathetic, which is our rest and digest response. It's what tells our body everything's okay. And there are so many different ways that we can manipulate the breath to achieve different outcomes. You can use the breath to address anxiety. You can use the breath to address depression. You can use the breath to calm you down, to center you. It is so powerful. And I'm not going to be going into all the specifics of that today, but let's just simply say that if you are interested in learning more, there is a brilliant book that was released by James Nestor called Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art. It's available as an audiobook or a real book, and I have purchased both. I actually listened to the book on my drive to New South Wales when I went to write my book, and I have gone and purchased the book afterwards because it is just so powerful. But once we move past the breath, we come to movement. Now, when I was at Hoffman Process, I saw in my mind these 9 words. I saw them in a semicircle, and I saw a butterfly with wings, and I knew that the left wing of the butterfly represented the intellect. I knew the right wing of the butterfly represented the emotional self. The bottom wing represented the higher self, and the thorax of the butterfly represented the body. And then I had the lines in the wings as the energetic self. And so I clearly saw this. I clearly saw the words. And when I saw the word move, I originally thought it was about movement. Now, when I was running this program last year, I came to the week of move. And as I came to create the PowerPoint presentation, I started writing and I realized, oh, this is not about physical movement. This is actually about moving through constriction. So I actually think it needs to be about both things. Yes, moving our bodies is important. Moving our bodies, moving our joints in all the different ways that it can helps keep our bodies supple and strong. And we need our bodies. We need our bodies, this beautiful vessel that contains our soul, in order to experience life, right? So it is our job and our duty to take care of this vessel as much as we can. So yes, movement, physical movement, is a part of what move represents. And move also represents becoming aware of the tension, noticing it, and choosing with courage to move through the constriction. After move, we look at the importance of nourishing ourselves. And again, originally, my idea with nourish, I thought was about the food that we take in. And of course, that's important to us. The sleep that we get, of course, that's important for us, right? So all of these components help build the framework of how we are our most vibrant, most radiant selves. But nourish ourselves is also about self-care. It is about carving out the space. It is about prioritizing ourselves. And women in particular are not very good at doing that. We have put ourselves at the bottom of the totem pole for too long. If we cannot give to ourselves, then we will never be able to give as much as we want to give to other people, because we cannot give from an empty cup. And so I encourage you to look at the way that you take care of yourself as an act of defiance and as an act of responsibility to your family. You are responsible to them to take care of yourself first. Because if you don't, you aren't meeting them with the energy, the love, the radiance that they deserve, and that, more importantly, you deserve. I was chatting with one other coach, a beautiful woman named Mary, and she was telling me about how she was working with an executive woman, and she was talking about the putting the oxygen mask on yourself first. And this woman said, yes, Mary, I know that's lovely. I know that's what I'm supposed to do. But realistically, if I'm in a plane that's going down, I am not going to put the oxygen mask on myself first. I'm going to give it to my children before me. And Mary reflected back, yeah, that's lovely. But if you do that, let's say you've got 3 children. So you put it on one child, she's good. You put it on the second child, they're good. And before you can get it onto the 3rd child, you pass out. Now, in the end, you die, the 3rd child dies, 2 children live. Both of them are angry at you and each other that they survived and that their sibling didn't. They're angry at you because you didn't survive. Who wins? I thought it was a really great little reflection, because There's so much truth to it. We cannot give to other people in the way that we want to when we're not giving to ourselves. Put yourself first. And then after we come out of nourishing ourselves, we come into play because we are meant to play. Our little souls are creative, playful, fun-filled children, right? When we were little, you didn't have to encourage us to play. We did it naturally. And for some reason, so many of us, as we are getting older, play drops off. I can remember one of the yoga therapists reflecting that he really focused on the importance of play, and that when he was doing his client intake, working with someone for the first time, that was one of his questions. When was the last time you played? Now, I love play. I love board games. I love competitive play. I love playful play. I will play anything with you. I will play with my kids. I will play with my dogs. I will play with my friends. I think play is so important. I will carve out half of my Saturday to go play in a competitive tennis with my friends because I love it. And my children play basketball, and I have to juggle them to get them to their sport. And some people could say that's selfish of me to not put their needs first, to not be at every game that they have. But what I'm role modeling to my children is the importance of me putting myself first. Here's another little story. My sister-in-law, who is another wise woman, recently reflected a metaphorical story to me about how if we could put ourselves in the skin of a loved one for a year, how would we treat that body? We would keep it safe. We would love it. We would feed it well. We would speak kindly to it. We would do everything in our power to protect it and keep it healthy. We would carve out time to take care of that body. We would help it be its most vibrant self. So why is it that we not do the same for ourselves? If you're a parent, I'm guessing there's a very high probability that you pay for your child to attend lessons or activities that interest them. In fact, you probably pay quite a hefty sum to help them realize their potential. And yet, how much do you invest back into yourself? I was reflecting on this myself the other day. I give both of my two sons a 5-minute massage each night as they go to bed. I also sing them a song, which, okay, I get it. They're 14 and 11. They probably don't need a song every night. But I've been doing this since they were little ones. I think I probably started it about 7 or 8 years ago when I was seeking a need of connection with my children that was just heartfelt in me giving and connecting with them with no strings attached. And they love it. And so I do that. But I was reflecting, that's 70 minutes of massage that I pour into them and love into them each week. Yet, how often am I taking myself for my own massages? By far, too many parents, moms in particular, put themselves last when it comes to taking care of our own needs. I argue that it's actually essential that you put yourself first. So you've heard the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. If we continually give without taking time to replenish our own energy, we risk burnout, resentment, and exhaustion. And when you don't give back to yourself, you simply can't turn up as the supportive and loving parent or person that you want to be. Carving out time to prioritize yourself doesn't have to mean huge, sweeping gestures every day, but simply incorporating small acts of self-nourishment into your daily routine. Something as simple as this 5-minute pause, a meditation, a reflection, a journal, a cup of tea. If you love books, reading books. In September of 21, I did 7 days of silence. And when I came out of it, I wrote a commitment to myself. And I wrote that I will, every day, I will eat better. I will drink more water. I will meditate daily. I will do more yoga, physical practice. I will paint several times a week. I will have daily exercise and daily fresh air. And I will read every day. And I will play every day. And I will love and be grateful every day. And I will choose fun and connection and be kind to myself and do one thing that makes the world a better place and do one thing productive every day. Now, I don't always nail that. I wish I read every day. I wish I read off my phone every day. I wish I had a book in hand every day. I don't quite do that. I certainly don't paint a couple times a week every week. I am intending to do more of that, carving out more and more time for my art. But it's only taking time to create these pauses for yourself that you are able to identify what is important, and so that you can then prioritize those. Now, after we have play, we have create. And create is not just about creative expression, the written or singing or dancing or painting. It's not just about artistic expression. And I originally thought that's what this was about. But as I started writing those slides when I was doing the program last year, I spent an hour or two writing my slides about the importance of artistic and creative playfulness, and my computer shut down. And wouldn't you know it, I had not saved the file. I opened it back up. Don't know why it shut down. I opened it back up and my file was gone. And in that moment, I got the message, this is not about creativity. This is about thoughts create reality. And so at the time, it was still early days for me to be comfortable talking about the quantum, talking about thoughts creating reality. And I really wasn't sure how that was going to land in the program. And so I went back, I recreated about half of the slides about creativity and about artistic expression, the importance of creativity from that aspect. And then I ended the second half of the slides on creating reality through your thoughts. So we will be dipping more into the quantum. Yeah, our thoughts create our reality every day. Every day that we experience was created from the thoughts that preceded it. Every idea, every book that exists, everything that is man-made started as a thought, right? We create things. We have ideas and we turn them into something. I love a saying that I heard last year that was, if you plant a tomato seed, you get tomatoes. We have to be mindful of the thoughts that we have. They are shaping our reality. When I went away in September, my thoughts were taking me in one direction. And thankfully, I had that break. I had that moment. I was able to really sit back and reflect and say, is this really where I want to be going? This is where I'm going. This is what I'm creating for myself. And as soon as I was able to catch myself and realize there are infinite possibilities here, there are infinite different ways this could go. I'm choosing this path. Is that the path that I really want? The biggest part of this is coming off autopilot. The biggest part is catching yourself and knowing that you can choose your thoughts and choose differently. When you're creating a business or when you're creating an idea, the mindset, anything, the mindset is the most important aspect. So we really look at how can you come with the right seed energy? What is it you're creating from, right? So all of that is important. And then we look at visioning. So looking at the future self that you want to create. And again, it's so important that we start with this baseline. We start, where are we today? And actually, for me, because I'm quite a logical person and I like to see progress, an essential part for me is having that baseline so that in 2 months, in 6 months, in 2 years, I can see, where have I come from? What's the growth that's happened? What's the improvements that happened? If I am taking on a new habit, where am I today? Where do I want to be? How's that habit going to support me? And actually tracking, where have I come? And then beyond visioning, one of the most important aspects is appreciation. To be able to receive the beautiful things, to be able to appreciate and show gratitude, to tell the universe, I want more of this, right? To show our celebration for all that we have, to remember how blessed we are. It's so easy to focus on the bad. It's also easy to focus on the positive. And one of the more powerful practices I have is starting each day with intention, starting each day with gratitude, ending each day with gratitude, reflecting on the day, no matter how hard it might have been, going back in your mind, walking through the day and finding the points of the day that you can feel grateful for. I keep a gratitude jar on my desk and I will put my hand up and say, I don't use it often enough. When my kids were a little bit younger, we had it on the dinner table. And each night when we would sit down for dinner, we would reflect out loud what we were grateful for. We would write 3 things down and we would put it into the jar. It's definitely a practice that helps keep it front and center. It's something that you can do with your family. So all of those different aspects, that is what this is going to be about. All of these topics, I think they're all so important to keep front of mind. The key to authenticity, the key to knowing yourself, the key to feeling vibrant and radiant. Okay. None of it's hard in its own right. And yet all of it is possibly different to what you've done in the past. And therefore, anything new is always a little bit hard. But I can promise you from my own experience, from my own life, and from other lives who have followed similarly, this works. Now, I think some of the self-help gurus out there get it wrong. Some of the self-help books, they're really precise about this is exactly what you need to do. And there is no exact prescription. That was one of the things I loved about yoga therapy was everyone was unique. You work with a yoga therapist and the yoga therapist is going to be specific to you. There is no generalized plan. There is no generalized pill. This is what you take. It's an experimentation. It's an invitation to get to know yourself better. It's an invitation to try things. Try this breath. Try it for a week. See how it works for you. Try the yin yoga. Try the tapping, the EFT. There's so much that we can do, and I love learning, and I'm so excited about this journey ahead where I can continue to learn and dive into all these things that I can share with you. Next, we're going to dive into what makes you, you. I'm going to share with you about the Ikigai. I'd love you to be a part of the community there. Join in. You can share what kind of episodes you'd like to hear about, reflect on the episodes that you've listened to so far, and be a part of the community. Make sure you download Your Soul's Unique Blueprint on the website. Get involved. Change your life. I'd love to be a part of your journey. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time.